Hello and welcome to the first ever Creeping My Cast Creepcast compilation companion video. I know that title might not make for the catchiest acronym, but you know, it's a work in progress, okay? Feel free to come up with a better one if you've got one. I'm certainly not married to it at this point. Now, I have no idea if anyone is going to watch this. I'll be honest, the compilations did a lot better than I expected when I started this channel. I've been a long-time fan of Creepcast. I've been listening since literally the first episode came out, and making a channel dedicated to some of the best moments from Creepcast is something I've wanted to do for a while, but I've listened to most of the episodes only once, so it's been pretty cool going back and watching them again while making these compilation videos. And after 2 years of Creepcast, there have been so many memorable moments from either the stories themselves or just the bits from Isaiah and Hunter, but there have also been just so many moments that I've simply forgotten about, both good and bad, over the course of, what, like 100 episodes at this point, that I thought I might as well make a sort of companion video to these compilation videos that I put out, where I give some of my thoughts about these episodes and stories, you know, as I'm going back rewatching them, both the stuff that I put in the compilations and the stuff that doesn't make the cut. And as much as I really do like a lot of the episodes about the bad stories that Creepcast have done, some of them can actually be pretty hard to get through on a second watch. And in episode 3 of Best Moments from Bad Stories, 2 of the stories definitely fall into that category, albeit for different reasons. Starting with Jeff the Killer, it is a famously bad story. Everyone knows that at this point. But I think it's a story that would make for a great Creepcast episode if they actually read it, which they didn't. And I actually kind of forgot about this, to be honest, but in the beginning, it took them a while to figure out the now tried and true Creepcast formula, where Wendigoon reads the story and Hunter does all the character quotes. If you remember, that part they only started doing in the Pen Pal episode.
I'm a terrible reader. I'm almost wondering if I should just do the quotes. If somebody's talking, I can voice act very well. I'm finding out very quickly that I believe there's no ridges in my brain.
I mean, what a pivotal moment in the history of Creepcast. It's kind of funny because it's like Hunter and Isaiah were both made perfectly for their current roles on Creepcast, but it took them 7 episodes to figure that out. One of them is literally a talented voice actor who has made a career for himself on YouTube from voicing his own cartoons, and it took them 7 episodes to figure out that, you know, maybe he should do the voices. But I'm very glad they did, because once you're used to how Creepcast is now, it's kind of difficult to go back and rewatch the old episodes before they really found what makes the podcast so good now. Mainly that people actually want to listen to them read the stories. And I mean, if you're watching this now, you probably already know that. I mean, they recently talked about that when they redid the Stairs in the Woods episode. And I would love if for the 3rd anniversary of Creepcast, they redid Jeff the Killer. Because watching it now, you kind of feel like you're getting blue-balled, because they will read excerpts from the story, but then they just kind of summarize the rest of it.
But then they're interrupted by their neighbor, Barbara, who stops by to introduce herself and her son named Billy, who seems to be much younger than Jeff and his brother, Lou, but invites them over to Billy's birthday party, in which Jeff's mom agrees to have them all over, but Jeff isn't having it, and he, quote, says, "Mom, why would you invite us to some kid's party? If you haven't noticed, I'm not some dumb kid." That's a legitimate quote.
And I think that kind of pacing with them having to explain what happens just kind of kills the momentum for a lot of the funny stuff in the episode. With a story like Jeff the Killer, there is so much comedic value in the way it is written that you're just kind of leaving on the table by not actually reading it. I went through it specifically trying to find funny moments to put in the compilation, and out of an hour and 45-minute long episode, I only got 5 minutes of content, and I was honestly expecting a lot more because I remembered it being really funny, and I think at the time it really was, but that's only because I haven't had 100 other Creepcast episodes since then for them to really elevate the podcast and set the bar a lot higher. Many times I would think there's about to be some bit that I can use, only for it to get killed by them having to continue explaining the story.
The kid seems to be about 12, 1 year younger than Jeff. He wears an Aeropostale shirt and ripped blue jeans. So So Jeff and his brother are at the bus stand, and then this kid in as described, an Aeropostale shirt and ripped jeans jumps a skateboard over them.
I mean, obviously not that I blame them for that or anything. I think that's kind of obvious, but in case it needed to be said, you can't expect them to have everything figured out on episode 2. But I do think it would be nice if they redid Jeff the Killer, because I don't think they extracted its full potential. Now, Camp Oakwood did not have that problem. By then, they really had the format nailed down. And props to Isaiah and Hunter, because they really had to do some heavy lifting to make listening to that story bearable. Because I forgot how much that story sucked. I mean, obviously, it's where the infamous long story short meme comes from.
Listen, I can't even get reception. If I wanted to call the police, I couldn't.
Long story short.
They are across the parking lot. I see them right now. They are right there.
Long story short, even though
Doug,
Kurt
I'm going
may
to
have
steal
been
this
wrong.
car from
Long story
drive
short.
out myself.
Long story short, even though Kurt may have been...
Which is a bit that I think definitely deserves its place in the Creepcast Hall of Fame. I actually saw a comment from someone on the compilation who didn't seem to realize that Hunter was the one adding all the long story shorts. And I have to admit, the first time I listened to the episode, it definitely took me way too long to figure out that it wasn't actually a part of the story. But even with how much Hunter and Isaiah do to make the story funny, and they really do a lot. I mean, this episode is only an hour longer than Jeff the Killer, but the amount of clips I was able to get was 4 times longer. And I mean, there are some really great bits in there.
You were talking about carving me with the knife. That's awesome.
I'm gonna hold my breath till I die. I'm gonna hold my breath till I die.
I'm gonna hold my breath till I die.
But despite how funny the bits were, the story still manages to make parts of that episode just make you want to like bang your head against a wall or something. It has maybe the worst exposition of any Creepcast story. I mean, let me know if there's a different story that you think might give it a run for its money, but I really think Camp Oakwood might take the cake. Because not only does it over-explain the lore, but famously, the lore also sucks.
The day after he died, Gavrilo Princip killed Franz Ferdinand. That's what triggered World War I.
I mean, like, the entire scene where our main character, Harrison, meets Doug and gets all this exposition dumped on him is completely pointless. Doug, who gets revealed to be Horus, the cult's founder that then possesses a body of one of the cult members, spoilers, I guess, helps our main character escape for no reason. He just exposition dumps on him that doesn't serve any purpose, and then they just capture him again. Like, this doesn't make any narrative sense whatsoever. It's really like this story was specifically written as the antithesis to the rule of show, don't tell. And then the funny part is at the end where the author addresses some of the plot holes, and he's just like, yeah, I don't really know why that happened. So weird. I guess we'll never know. Like, shut up. No, you don't get to play the mystery card now. Not after putting us through all that. I think it's very clearly written by an amateur writer who just isn't very good at writing stories yet. I mean, that kind of goes without saying. And obviously, if you watched the Creepcast episode, which I'm guessing you did, it didn't go without saying. The boys certainly didn't hold back on their critiques, which is kind of the great thing about these internet horror stories. You know, really anyone can write them. And sometimes you get some really great work. I mean, Pen Pal, I've listened to that twice, and I mean, it's such a strong contender for the best story they've ever read. Or Stairs in the Woods. I mean, you know, that's one I mentioned earlier. It's one they redid recently. And man, you know, listening to it again, I was just like, man, it's so cool that this is just a story that someone posted on Reddit for free for everyone to read. Like, it's just such a cool thing. Or, I mean, Cupcakes is another example of just, you know, it's going down in history with, like, Homer's Odyssey and the Bible. But, I mean, sometimes you just get writers who simply aren't as good, and that's fine, you know. It reminds you how good the really good stories are. Now, last but not least, we had There's Something Wrong with Dad, and I really think that whole story could have just been a r/2 sentence horror post. Just when I thought my dad had raped my mother with a brick and tried to hang me, it turned out he was the creature. Which more or less is that story summed up. It was a lot of violence and brutality with little to no payoff in the end, which, as you can imagine, made for a really great Creepcast episode. Very funny. So I think to end these videos, I'll do like a rewatchability score for the episodes that I covered. Jeff the Killer, not worth rewatching, in my opinion. I think definitely worth redoing. I would love to see Hunter and Isaiah take a crack at it again. Maybe as like a 3rd anniversary special. But the episode as is just, you know, pretty dated. So I'd give it like a 3 out of 10 on the rewatchability score. Camp Oakwood, this one is a lot better. There are some really good moments in it. However, some parts are really a drag to get through, I'll be honest. Which isn't as bad if you're listening to Creepcast in the background while doing something else, which, you know, is how I usually listen to it. However, if you're like sitting down to watch it, you know, not so much. In that case, if you're gonna like sit down and watch it, if you've seen the compilation video, or I'm sure Darbo did the highlights, funniest moments video as well, then like you've seen all the best, funniest moments already. So, you know, I'd say it's like a 6 out of 10 on the rewatch scale. There's Something Wrong with Dad is worth a rewatch, in my opinion. It's definitely not a good story, but, you know, the episode isn't boring either. It's also an in-person episode, which adds a lot, I think. So it's a funny episode. I think I definitely give it like a 7.5 on the rewatch scale. Anyway, that's it for this week's companion video. I wanted to have this out like more than a week ago, but I was really busy around Christmas, so that didn't happen. But a compilation and a companion video to it should be coming out every week now, inshallah, you know. So yeah, keep creeping your costs. Until next time, bye.